Good morning to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for the 8th day of November. Yes, it is still hurricane season in November. Remember, it is 6 months long, June 1st through November 30th, at least on the calendar. Some years, like 2005, as an example, the season went on into December and even into January 2006. Will that be the case this year? It's been really busy, and in a normal season, in November, things tend to calm down. As you see right here, we're on the downward slant of the graph showing climatological activity over the past 100 years or so. The peak was back in September, and this is, of course, literally the day that Irma made landfall, right at the peak of the season. It's been a very busy season, and that brings us up to this, the tracking map showing Tropical Storm Rina, R-I-N-A. It replaces Rita from the 2005 list of names, and Rina is out in the open Atlantic getting ready to move into much colder water, and it'll lose its tropical warm characteristics and become absorbed in a larger weather feature over the North Atlantic up here, and that will be that. Top winds are 60 miles per hour and is moving off to the northeast at a fairly good rate, north right now, eventually to the northeast. Very quickly getting caught up into the westerlies up here and other upper level energy that will go across the North Atlantic, and it'll head out. Actually, some of that energy, as I'll show you in a couple of minutes here on the GFS, will get absorbed into other weather features and head over towards the United Kingdom, and not nearly as strong as what Ophelia was, not by any stretch, but some of this tropical activity oftentimes does get absorbed into these weather systems in the northern latitudes and in the jet stream up here, and they end up over in Europe or the North Sea, etc., and this will probably do just that. No threat to the United States, not even any swells or anything to worry about. Any shipping interest out here in the North Atlantic shipping lanes, they should be well aware of this system. It's interesting, it's the 17th named storm of the year, and probably we'll see another one or two before all is said and done, because water temperatures are fairly warm. In fact, let me pull that up. I want to show you that here. I forgot to add that graphic. Right now, Rina, if we look at the lat long, 37.1 north, so we'll just call it 37 north and 48 west. Where is that on this particular map? Well, 48 west is about right here, and 37.1, so it's sitting about right in this area here, and water temperatures are below the normal threshold, but it's moving quickly, so it left the very warm water, which is about 80 degrees or so here, and it's moving very fast, so it's moving faster than it can lose its tropical characteristics, put it that way. But overall, the North Atlantic here, and this is the North Atlantic Basin, that's what we call this area, north of the equator. Well, that's not the equator, that's 10 north. There's the equator. Everything north of this line we refer to as the North Atlantic. So the North Atlantic up here, and then of course you have the North Atlantic, the North Atlantic. It gets confusing, doesn't it? Maybe I'm adding to that. But basically, as you can see, a lot of the Atlantic here, the North Atlantic Basin, as it's properly termed, still very warm overall in a lot of this area, above the long-term average, and so it won't surprise me to see another system develop somewhere out here in the subtropics, and maybe something over here in the Caribbean before we get to December, and really even before the end of 2017 proper, right? The calendar year, December 31st. And it's just because we've had such a very busy season with very favorable conditions, and the Pacific equatorial region has cooled off dramatically. We are basically in this La Nina pattern that, don't be surprised if we add 2 more named storms to the list this year. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's what's going to happen. Looking at the visible satellite picture as we go from night, which is here, the nighttime visible to daytime, there is still a little bit of convection right around the center of circulation right there. Overall, a very healthy center of circulation and a broad circulation as a whole. Very well-developed tropical storm. No doubt about it. So this is not one of those Why did they name that? It doesn't even look like anything. Well, this is a well-developed system, and if it were over warmer water, which is where it came from, this would probably be well on its way to becoming a hurricane at some point, simply because the atmosphere is fairly favorable. It's just the fact that it's moving over colder and colder water every hour that the heat content is lowering, and therefore its energy source is starting to dry up, almost literally. The cooler, drier air in this area holds less moisture. Less moisture means less heat. Less heat means less energy. So that's what it looks like. There's Rina, and like I said, it's heading on out into the far reaches of the North Atlantic. That's what it looks like right there in the GFS model. Over the next few days, you can see it tracking around the north side of this high pressure area over the Azores. And let's just start this over again at hour 0. This is day 5 right there. This is where it starts, and as you see, it moves north, finally catches up with this weather feature, and all of that gets whisked around the top of this high pressure area, sitting over the Azores here. And there's the United Kingdom, Ireland off to the west there. And again, some of that energy does come up and around that high and into parts of the British Isles. So, kind of stormy and wet and rainy from this, but nothing near the magnitude of what you saw with Ophelia. And also over the next 5 days, you notice nothing at all in the deep tropics, which is expected this time of year. There shouldn't be. And we don't have anything in the Western Caribbean either. So that's good news there, obviously. But I still think, once in a while you get these pieces of energy that'll break off and they get left behind down here. And that's kind of what spawned Rina. And I think we'll have another storm develop in that fashion before all is said and done. So we'll see. That's about it. The season's almost over. Thank goodness. It has been a very intense season. Obviously, some of you have lived through that intensity, and you know how it has been. On HurricaneTrack.com, my website, on November 30th, and our related YouTube channel, youtube.com/HurricaneTrack, or you can just search Hurricane Track, Hurricane TRACK, on YouTube, and that's where our channel lives. I'm going to do a special end of the season broadcast, very similar to what I did on the first day, and I actually called it Day 1. That was sort of the title of the broadcast. And hurricane season is actually 183 days long. All of the months of the hurricane season don't have 30 days. 3 of them have 31 days. And you add those ones up and you get 3, and there you go. You have 183 days in the hurricane season. And so on day 183, November 30th, if you're interested, and I'll talk about it more later, a live broadcast kind of summarizing everything, what happened over the season, what did we learn, what were some of the painful lessons that we need to build upon and do better for next time, etc. We're going to talk about all of that. So those of you that are interested in such things, stay tuned. That's coming up on November 30th. And again, I'll talk about it more later. It's free. There won't be any ads or commercials playing on that channel, on that particular program. I want as many people to be able to tune in as possible. And maybe we can see if we learned something. I know we did in our field mission work at HurricaneTrack.com, and I'll talk about that as well. All right? Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Thanks as always. We do appreciate it at Hurricane Pro and HD. And of course for HurricaneTrack.com, again, my website. I'm Mark Sudduth. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. And I'll talk to you again as we get closer to November 30th. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see what's happening with Rina. But if not, certainly before we get to the end of the season, at the end of the month.